bags of loose fireworks in the summer, brand new down coats in the winter. As with Michelle, the adults I knew acknowledged him and Prissy only in passing. I did the math and concluded they also were crackheads. That type of calculus, I imagine, was common for lots of kids who grew up like me, poor and black in the midst of the crack epidemic of the 1980s and 90s. There were things happening all around us that we knew better than to ask about, things we had to figure out for ourselves. My mother had a policy, mind your business. That's exactly what she'd say when she'd catch me stealing glances at the older boys on the corner. Mind your business. It was like growing up in a steel town where nobody talked about steel. Conversations about crack became more mainstream in years to come. Our national dialogue reached its peak for me in the form of Whitney Houston sitting down for a primetime interview to address rumors of drug use. It's a scene seared into my memory. A raspy-voiced and gaunt Houston sitting opposite Diane Sawyer. The singer is dressed entirely in white and holding a picture of herself that she's been handed by the interviewer. That's not just thin, Sawyer insists with a squint. Anorexia? Bulimia? Houston, incredulous, shakes her head. No way. Then Sawyer gets to the reason she's really there, why we're all watching. She reads from what we're made to believe is a headline copied to the sheet of paper in her hand. Whitney dying, crack rehab fails. Houston leans in and uses a hand to punctuate the point. First of all, let's get one thing straight. Crack is cheap. I make too much money to ever smoke crack. Let's get that straight, okay? We don't do crack. We don't do that. Crack is whack. Sawyer continued to ask if Houston indulged in alcohol, marijuana, cocaine, or pills, and Houston admitted that she'd done all, at times. Crack, though? Any question of the pop star using that substance was settled by the simple logic that Houston was too wealthy to enjoy something so low class. The singer would divulge years later, in an interview with Oprah Winfrey, that her drug of choice had been marijuana laced with base, short for freebase. Neither she nor Oprah seemed aware that freebase and crack are different names for the exact same substance, smokable cocaine. I understand now why Houston denied it. Crack left a residue on everything it touched. Anything could be done to a person associated with the evil substance. I surveyed my community and saw its effects in the way my neighborhood was policed. It was as though the police weren't satisfied until everyone I knew had been stopped, questioned, searched, detained, fined, arrested, jailed, inconvenienced, awakened in the middle of the night, humiliated. Some would end up beaten, shot, or killed. All of us would be touched. School felt like an extension of the streets. There, it was teachers, mostly white, who did the profiling. They labeled my classmates emotionally disturbed or hyperactive, diagnosed them with learning disabilities, and dismissed them accordingly. For us, black boys mostly, it was a gradual process that sped up as we got bigger and more spirited. We didn't realize we were inside the belly of a beast that ate insubordinate black boys whole, one that labeled us so it could consume us, and that used our reaction to justify itself to itself. My peers and I couldn't name it, but we recognized the disdain of teachers and educators and bristled at it. We avoided the police who profiled us as drug dealers and gangbangers, as super predators. We resisted the low expectations of teachers who regarded us as possible crack babies incapable of learning. Despite our ignorance of the greater forces, we did our best to outrun crack and its accompanying threats. With the help of music and movies, I eventually deciphered what the grown-ups wouldn't explain. I deduced that my community was in the middle of an invisible war. When people disappeared from the neighborhood, I learned it was because they'd been killed or locked up. Or worse, they were on that shit, meaning they'd become addicted to crack and condemned to a life of wandering the streets like the living dead. That was the message I got when I watched an ashy-mouthed Chris Rock as Pookie in New Jack City for the first time. In the movie, Pookie finally gets clean, but in an agonizing scene, eventually relapses. I tried to kick, he explains, but that shit just be calling me, man. It be calling me, man. I just gotta go to it. If that depiction didn't forever scare me off crack, there was the scene in Jungle Fever in which Samuel L. Jackson's Gator terrorizes his own elderly mother, played with tenderness by Ruby Dee, for money to get high. The scene ends when his father, played by Ozzie Davis, happens upon the scene and shoots Gator dead after declaring his son is better off that way. The popular music of my